My name is Russell Moats, and I just wanted to say thank you to all the veterans who have served previously or are currently serving in the military. I myself am a veteran of the United States Army. I recently retired this past January with 21 years, 6 months and 10 days, where I served as an Army aviator, flying both helicopters and airplanes. I also did 5 combat tours, 2 in Iraq. I was flying my generation's greatest attack helicopter, the AH-64 Apache, and then the 3 tours in Afghanistan, I was flying both reconnaissance and transport airplanes. And I looked this morning at the census.gov website, and in 2020, veterans checked in at 18.5 million strong. That equates to roughly 7% of the population. And that seems like a small percent, but in my opinion, veterans make a huge impact on their own society, bringing their knowledge, skills, and experience to the workplace, to the classrooms, to our communities, and also to our families. And we may tease each other about our specific branch of service, but we all share in common is an unwavering commitment and love for our country. And I don't care if you spent 3 years in the military or 30 years, that feeling never goes away. And the other thing that we share is that we can fall asleep virtually anywhere, and we eat at lightning speed. Those are things that we learn in the military. I also want to recognize families of veterans, because they're the true unsung heroes. We couldn't do what we do without them. They also sacrifice, because when we go over to a deployment, to a combat deployment, we know the deal. And in most cases, in most experiences, at least with my experience, it read something like 90% boredom marked with 10% sheer terror. But for our families, it's 100% uncertain, or they are 100% uncertain of our safety. And I think back to my mother when I was in Iraq. I promise you, she thought that I was low crawling with a K-bar in my mouth to the chow hall just to get a bite of food. But it wasn't the case, but she didn't know. But she did have some experience with that, because 33 years later, my brother and I were both tag teaming each other in Iraq. He's a retired United States Marine. I would go to Iraq, come back, then he would go to Iraq, come back, then I would go again, come back, and then he went again. And in 2011, 2012, him and I were both in Afghanistan together. So my parents had to endure that. But as a sidebar, that was one of the highlights of my career, to be able to fly Army reconnaissance airplanes over his Marine unit, providing overwatch while he conducted operations down in the Helmand province. But with the families, it is a huge sacrifice for them, and for the spouses and children, it's even harder. I think about my wife, my amazing wife, Chrissy. She's dealt with 3 of these deployments. In fact, in 2011 and 12 on that deployment, I left my oldest daughter and her 10 months pregnant with my middle child while I deployed. I was able to come home from R&R, see my middle child born, home for a little less than 2 weeks, and was back over to finish that 9-month deployment, or there for 9 months to finish out the deployment. And then she was rewarded for maintaining the house, keeping life going, keeping the bills paid. She was rewarded with 2 more deployments to Afghanistan. And there's nothing harder, like for example, my last tour in Afghanistan, I'm hugging my wife and my oldest by, while my middle child, my young son, both had a handful of my uniform and didn't want me to leave. It's tough on the service member, but it's really tough on the families. And the other thing I want to say about Veterans Day is that if you're a veteran out there and you're struggling, please find help. For the veterans here, we still have that obligation to one another, whether we're in the service still or not. And so if you need help, come find it and talk to me. I'd be happy to talk to you. And just remember how we were trained in the military. We never quit and we never give up. But I wanted to wish you all a happy Veterans Day, and have a safe one, and thank you for your time.